one of the biggest walks is it's a bit of an achievement for people too. We climb the 10 highest peaks. So last summer I had a guy who I think he was 93% blind.
Wow.
Do the walk, and like half the walk is off track and some of it's quite rocky. And then I had another family with a 5-year-old and he did the whole walk as well. So it's pretty inspiring.
Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey guys, welcome to Uncovered. I'm really excited. I've got Magic Mike here. I've had him on board before. So thank you, Magic Mike, for jumping on Uncovered again today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to talk about business, heartache, struggles, and moving through them. So, Mike, I'd love you to give us a little bit of a background on, what you've experienced in your past, like what you've done job-wise and the things that you've done in your life.
Okay. Well, with my family, they brought us up in the bush. They're very adventuresome. They built a rammed earth house. We didn't have many neighbours to play with, but we had lots of bush and outdoor handicrafts and sports and things to do. And, so there was a big generation of doing it the hard way. And if you wanted something, you had to go out there and physically put in the effort. And there was always a bit of pain, and without no pain, no gain. And rather than just sit and wait for things to happen, you had to create them yourself. So I was fairly quiet and shy. And later on in life, it was a dream to move to the mountains, and I started an outdoor shop down in Jindabyne. And so the Paddy Pallin franchise shop I ran for 23 years in Jindabyne. And we used to run tours and adventures, and I did the marketing and photography side and the business side.
Yeah, so you've been in business for how long, Mike?
Well, I'm 21, so I'm only joking. So I've been in business for 23 years with that business, and since then another 15 years.
So 23, so 33, 38 years in business, guys.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're talking about here, 90% of businesses don't exist after 10 years. So we're almost 4 times that amount of time working in business. And it's really interesting. You've got a really interesting story around being born under Aboriginal artifacts. Can you tell us about that experience? Because you've always had this spiritual connection to the land.
Yeah, well, I didn't really know what it was about from, being brought up in a house made of earth, and then, with timber beams and rammed earth walls and things like that were hand built by my parents. And then my parents collected these artifacts from Central Australia, and they were underneath my bed. And when I was little, I used to sort of leave my bed. And so I thought I was a bit of a weirdo, and I think I tried to cover all that stuff up, and then it came out in later life when I realized that, something was calling me to do lots of photography and I couldn't, in the Western world, it didn't make sense because I couldn't make money from it. And the Western world runs a lot on that. So I couldn't work it out. And then one day I had this unexpected awakening meditation where I was de-stressing from something, and I sat on this big rock in a place I'd never been before in Lane Cove National Park, a big rock platform with a big Angophora tree above it. And little did I know that I was sitting on an Aboriginal etching, in the rock. I only realized when I got up, but I got this big message that I was here to look after the land, and these big jets flying into Sydney was only a passage of time. And so that was answered a lot of my questions, and then you helped me put the jigsaw puzzle together, that my life purpose is connecting people to nature. It's a bigger cause, and by doing that I can get out of my own way, let myself out of jail a bit, and and I can live to my full potential rather than stay small and stay hidden.
Yeah, and I think this is really, really interesting because you've spoken about this being more like an isolator, and you've been on the TV and numerous times. You've just recently been on the TV again, talking about what you do. Can you talk about your last experience on the TV?
Yeah, that was with Sunrise TV. I think it's Channel 7. But that was when we were up at Charlotte Pass and with one of the other young guides, and we set up a snow tent. So we weren't actually camping in the snow because they had to do 8 other program sections. So we had to be close to where they were doing their other work. So we set up the tent and made a camp kitchen out of the snow, tables and chairs, and then we got the call, 2 minutes to go and we're going live. But by then he'd sort of softened us up with some of the questions that he might be asking. So we're talking about snowshoeing and taking people snow camping.
Yeah.
Either on snowshoes, skis, or snowboards, and how easy it is on snowshoes, for bushwalkers or outdoor type people to get out into nature in the snow here in Kosciuszko.
Yeah, and you take people out into the wilderness in the summer and the winter time. It's really, really interesting for you, Mike, because you're this natural sort of hermit type of guy, right? And you've been constantly pushed. You're not that person who likes to be on the TV. You've been on the TV with Ernie Dingo, one of the most famous Australian people in Australia, one of the most Australian. Everybody knows this guy, and you're on the TV with him. No one knows that you're on the TV because you just don't share your wins and all the chest beating stuff that a lot of people would normally do with the experience of being shown for what you do. What is it that stops you from exposing yourself so much with what you do? What stops you?
Oh, well, it's my my original personality, which is like a hermit, staying small, low confidence, low esteem, and beating myself up. So if I can do it for a bigger cause, then I'll get out of my own way and let myself out of jail, and I'll be able to share it with more people and expand and give, like like a photographer, for instance, isn't in Australia. They're like, to get our power back as an artist or an outdoor or spiritual type person, we've got to go out in the world and really put in a lot of effort and to break the mold,
Yeah, and I think this can be very, very challenging because, listeners, we're talking about a person who has succeeded in business for a very, very long time and has made his business work and is calling himself out having low self-esteem, right? So the difference between Mike and maybe you, for instance, is that Mike's actually still created and build a business that's actually earning money, right? So I remember when we started working together, I told you to flick all the cheap stuff out that you were selling. You were too good for that price, and we were starting to really build your value up for what you can do. And which is not a normal part of people who do spirituality. So this is what I want to put a call out, listeners, is that we don't a lot of the time value spiritual causes, right? So we don't put a monetary value on that. Look, one thing I know from the experiences that a lot of people have told me about your walks and obviously your amazing photography is that they create an inner feeling, and that inner feeling is what we all remember. They're the things that really matter. So when we actually start reminding ourselves what really matters is our experiences. Now, Mike, you take people, I've seen a video of you making hot tea with snow, doing all sorts of things, shoveling bloody snow and making igloos and all sorts of amazing.
Yeah, we get people camping in igloos and take them in whiteouts and take them to mountaintops and beautiful sunsets and sunrises and under the Milky Way. Yeah, it's amazing.
And how do your clients feel when they have that experience and they see this beautiful sunset, or they see the stars in its pristine beauty in the great outdoors? How many ooh-ahs do you get? Like, what's it like being a person who's taking people on adventures that they've never been on before? And you do it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, it's lots of fun sharing, and people come away with a beautiful feeling, you know. They come in at the start, and I can feel, because I'm quite receptive, you know, I can feel all their nerves, and you know, but I feel safe out there. So as soon as we get out there, you know, I feel fairly safe. Like, I had a lady on the trip we came back yesterday, and she couldn't sleep. So we did a meditation. There was only one person, so we did a meditation so she could go to sleep that night, and she said she slept a lot better. And then so we had 2 amazing days of really good weather, and the last day was a challenge, biggest challenge she's had in her whole life, because it was a whiteout and we had to navigate, and she got blown over 4 times.
Oh wow.
And she was hanging onto my arm, and I was, you know, we were using a pole and snowshoes and big packs, and I had to hold her hand, you know, and navigate with the GPS in a whiteout for a few hours. But she'll come away with an amazing experience, because the first few days were magic. The weather, we got dusting of snow, and we're on top of the peaks at sunset, and then the full moon came up, so it was amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And look, you also do experiences in the summertime too, don't you? So it's not always so freezing for people who don't like the cold, like me. You have experiences where you take people out into the wildflowers and all the native flora and fauna in the summertime as well, don't you?
Yeah, the flowers up in the mountains here, the peak of the flower season is late December, early January, and it's quite warm then. And sometimes, you know, we can dip our heads or wash our faces in the creeks, and you know, it's we're sitting around in the warmth and you know, watching the sunset, or climbing a nearby peak, or just sitting around our tents relaxing after a nice day's walk. One of the biggest walks is it's a bit of an achievement for people too. We climb the 10 highest peaks. So last summer I had a guy who was, I think he was 93% blind.
Wow.
To do the walk, and like half the walk is off track, and some of it's quite rocky. And then I had another family with a 5-year-old, and he did the whole walk as well. So it's pretty inspiring.
Yeah, it is. And listeners, listen to this right now, if you're listening, right? They're talking about a person who's 93% blind and a 5-year-old. So a lot of people don't push through their limitations. They're not willing to bust through their limitations. They're wanting to use, everything that they can as an excuse. And you've had experiences where, your partner has passed away. You've had some really tough experiences in your life, Mike, where things have been very, very difficult for you. And you don't complain. You don't use them as excuses. You don't say, oh, because of this, I can't do this. So why is it that your attitude's so different? Like, why do you have this ability to push through when a lot of people say, well, I can't because of X, Y, and Z?
I think you just got to be persistent, and put your head down and just keep going, rather than give up at the first stop sign.
Yeah, and I think this is really, really important. Like, if we keep giving up at that first stop sign, we're going to get nowhere. So we need to be prepared, don't we, to take a chance at doing something different in our life. And if we don't, then we're going to just keep getting stuck. And I think for you, Mike, like, you're one of those people. You've got that, potentially over humble nature. And you're here to take people into nature. And I'd love to, have a little bit of a talk about this, is that lockdown. We've had this experience of being locked down in our homes and not being able to move. And, it's affected your business because you're here to take people out of lockdown and into the environment. Like, no matter what environment, whether, COVID's happened or not, we all get locked down into our paradigm of life. And so going and doing an adventure with Magic Mike gives people the opportunity to pull themselves out of their own internal lockdown. So have you experienced, like, you've obviously got a few businesses, you do your photography as well as your outdoor adventures. What's it been like, trying to encourage people to get back into the great outdoors again?
Oh, it has been challenging. Well, the first 2 years of lockdown, the second year I was changing dates. Some people changed dates 4 times. So there's a huge amount of paperwork I realized, through the work I do with yourself, that I was over trying to fix the problem, and I just had to let go of I couldn't fix it, with extra paperwork. So I just had to let go of the reins a bit and try and help wherever I could, but get out there and into nature myself and exercise, not just stay in the office all day. And this year has been, a bit challenging as well, because a lot of the people are still a bit stuck and frozen and got their own internal lockdown happening. And I've just got to make sure I free myself up with my internal lockdown as well. Like, I'm working on that as well.
Yeah, and we all get locked down, listeners. Is that, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we need to, in my opinion, create a different environment to get ourselves to unlock. And so what Mike does is help you, unlock yourself so you can get moving in another direction. And there's nothing quite like being out of an environment to push you out of your own stuckness. So, where do you get locked up, Mike? Like, what's the things that stop you from feeling like you can get where you want to go?
Oh, my personality, my low esteem personality, where I isolate and unhealthy, because I'm quite sensitive, so I tend to overeat and things like that. And there's lots of things for me to work on. So I'm trying to switch my personality into the magnetic tour leader.
Yeah, which is great, which is what you are. I mean, this is the thing that I find really interesting, Mike, is that you're already that. And sometimes, listeners, when you run your own business, you don't realize the impact and the support that you give others through what you do. Like, you've got this thing, I know you've been chosen to be on TV above other people because of this magnetism and the care and you want and your want for sharing the great outdoors with people. So I think, we have this idea on the inside, listeners, where what we think we are is not what we truly are. So you're one of those most magnetic people. You wouldn't be called upon. Mike's been, his photography has been on the cookie boxes of Qantas. He's been on the TV numerous times, and no one who doesn't have that, amazing magnetism to be able to share with people wouldn't you'd be pushing to get on these. You just seem to fall into them, Mike. How does it happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a bit of a snowball, I think. And I think because of my connection with nature, like when I'm out there, the nature spirits, I can listen, and the nature spirits tell me where to go to take the photos or where to take people on the trips. That intuition.
Yeah.
And I think the photos, people can feel that love and connection through my photos. And that's a language for me. And it's a draw card to get people to come on board and join in to reconnect. They can see where they're missing the links of reconnecting themselves to nature.
100%. And I think this is really, really important, is that Mike's the real deal. He's got this thing. He's not just taking people on an expedition. He's taking people on a connection. And I think this is very, very different. Your approach and the way that you want to share the environment is through getting people to connect to it rather than walk on the land. They're walking with the land. Would you agree?
Yeah. And it's a challenge for me too, to open up about all this sort of stuff too, which is good, so it gives it more power and more influence, by opening up about spirituality and my life purpose.
Yeah, and having more meaning to it. So listeners, if you want to have an adventure and you're really looking to have something different, go and have a look at what Mike's doing. I'm gonna make sure, Mike, we get your TV things on the show notes, the things that you've done on the TV, as well as all your details, as well as the opportunity to experience, if you want to buy some of the amazing artwork that Mike has on his website for his photographies. You'll never see anything more spectacular, in my opinion, than what Mike's got and what he shares. So, Mike, I really want to thank you for jumping on Uncovered with me today and sharing your magic again. I call him Magic Mike because he's got this ability to share. He's not the nude Magic Mike. He's the person who actually helps people with nature. He doesn't get his kid off. Right. So this is what is really, really beautiful about you. So thank you for jumping on Uncovered. I really appreciate your time again today.
Thanks, Jace.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also, our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't bite, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.